Hi friends, it's cold outside, it's freezing, it's snowing, I'm wearing a warm woolen sweater and still I'm gonna talk with you about spring makeup. January and February are usually the months that most brands release their spring makeup or their Valentine's Day collections. And one of those brands is Yves Saint Laurent, and they released this eyeshadow quad, the Blooming Lust eyeshadow quad. I know that in this collection with this same packaging there's also a lipstick and a lip gloss. I do not have those, so I'm going to discuss this one only. I will also talk about the new blushes, and these are the powder blushes. They got released recently. These are not limited edition, these are part of their permanent collection, while the eyeshadow palette is of course limited edition. So we're going to talk about this one first. I will give you some information about the formula, the color story, the color payoff. I will also show you some comparisons, and I have a demo for you how I created this look. So let's get started. This palette is called Blooming Lust. It's the Couture Mini Clutch in number 125, and this is limited edition for Valentine's Day and spring. And look at this beautiful packaging. I love this blue to pink gradient and the beautiful logo on the front. It's absolutely gorgeous. The first color we have in this palette is that beautiful topper shade, definitely the star of the show. This topper shade has a translucent base with pink and blue particles. And when you apply the shade on top of your bare skin or just a very light color, you do not see a lot of that blue. But when you apply the shade on a darker base, for example, the deeper shade in this palette, you will see those bluish particles. It's absolutely stunning. It's like a subtle duochrome shade. So depending on how the light catches the color, you either see more of the blue or you either see more of the pink. The next shade in this palette is a matte light brown beige shade. This is a very good base shade. And up next we have that deep purple shade. It's absolutely stunning. This one also has a matte finish. And the last one is a beautiful coral shade, also with a matte finish. So in this palette we have 3 matte shades and 1 topper shade, and that's the biggest difference compared to the other Couture Mini Clutch eyeshadow palettes, because those also have satin shades. In this one, no satin shade, 3 mattes, 1 topper shade. Do I really miss that satin shade? Yes and no. Yes, because I think that if YSL would have included a satin shade in this palette, it would be a little bit more versatile. With only these 3 mattes and that 1 topper shade, you are limited in the options for different looks. On the other hand, I don't think a satin really would make such a difference, because the topper shade in this palette is, like I said, the star of the show. So formula wise, this quad is a little different to what we usually see from YSL. And also color story wise, this is very different to what we usually see from the brand. What we have seen in the past are very sophisticated and neutral toned eyeshadow palettes, perfect for everyday wear. And I do think that you can wear this new quad on a daily basis as well, but of course it's not as neutral in tone as most of the other YSL quads. And from the permanent collection, the Babylon Roses palette is the palette that comes closest to this new Blooming Lust palette. Both color stories have kind of the same vibe, but in my opinion, Babylon Roses has more of this cozy, rosy vibe, while Blooming Lust is definitely more spring-like to me. Furthermore, Babylon Roses, of course, doesn't have that special duochrome topper shade, and Babylon Roses has a satin shade, and like I just told you, there is no satin shade in the Blooming Lust palette. So in my opinion, Blooming Lust definitely adds something to my collection, and especially to my YSL collection. And although Blooming Lust and Babylon Roses may look a little bit similar in the swatches, on the eyes, these shades look very, very different. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I recorded how I did my makeup this morning. So let's watch the demo now. I already done my base makeup, foundation, concealer and my brows. So I prime my eyes with the NARS eyeshadow primer, but you can use the primer of your choice, of course. I use my natural hair Japanese Fude brushes from Hakuhodo for this eye look. I start with the lightest shade in this palette, that brownish beige shade, and I apply that with a medium-sized fluffy blending brush just above the crease, and I blend that out towards my brow bone. Then I dip into the coral shade with a brush that's slightly smaller and denser, and I apply that shade in the crease and I blend it upwards. Next, I use a medium-sized eyeshadow packer brush to apply the deepest shade, and what I do now is different to what I usually do with dark shades, because I apply this deepest shade all over the moving eyelid. Usually I would only apply it on the outer part of the lid to create some depth, but in this look I use it as a base color for that translucent topper shade. And to apply that topper shade, I use the E58 brush from Sigma. This is a synthetic hairbrush. I spray a little bit of setting spray on top of the bristles and then I dip into that topper shade. And because the bristles are a bit wet now, you'll have less fallout and you'll get a more intense application. But make sure your brush isn't too wet, because then your base color will start moving, and that's something you want to avoid. And you can see that the topper shade now looks more bluish violet in tone. Final step for this eye look is some eye pencil from Victoria Beckham Beauty, and this is in the shade Orchid. Of course, you can also add some black eyeliner or nothing at all, depending on the kind of look you'd like to create. I now finish my look using Dior bronzer and of course the new YSL blush. This is the shade Restless Rose, number 93. This is a warmer rosy pink with a golden glow. A beautiful, beautiful color. This is a shade I would wear a lot during spring and summer. Next, I apply some mascara. I use this one from Charlotte Tilbury, and the lip color is shade Elodie by Westman Atelier. And then the final steps, I use a large fluffy face brush to blend all the face products and finish with the Too Faced setting spray. And this is the finished look. Please let me know if this demonstration was helpful. Would you like to see more of these kind of tutorials or demos in my videos? Please share your thoughts with me. I will now continue with the blushes. You already saw one of the new blushes in the demonstration. That was this shade, Restless Rose or Restless Rosé. I'm not sure. I also bought two other shades. We have here Nocturnal Nude and we have Rose Haze. Restless Rose is a warm-toned rosy pink with a golden glow and a satin shimmery finish. Nocturnal Nude is a beige shade with a satin finish, and the last one, Rose Haze, has a matte finish, and this is a warm coral shade. The blushes have a 24-month shelf life, and just like the eyeshadow palette, these blushes are made in Italy. And what I like so much about these blushes is the buildable formula. These blushes are richly pigmented. So if you want a sheer application, make sure to not use too much product on your brush. Just dip once into the pan, that's enough. And then you have a very sheer wash of color on the cheeks. But if you like a more bold, a more intense color, then apply some more. It's very easy to build up the intensity of the color. You can apply several layers and your blush will not look powdery. It will still look like skin. So I really appreciate that. That's what I like so much about this formula. It looks like skin. It's not too heavy, even if you apply several layers of product. What I also really like about these blushes is that this formula doesn't emphasize any skin texture, pores or fine lines. That's really a good thing. It has this little bit of a blurring effect. Of course, I also have some comparisons for you. I'm gonna start off with the Rose Haze shade, because this shade reminded me a lot of the Forbidden shade by NARS. That one also has a matte finish. So I thought, let's compare them for you. But as you can see here in this swatch, these shades are definitely not similar. Based on what I saw in the pan, I thought that these would have at least same vibe, but no, they are completely different. The YSL Rose Haze shade is more of a pink coral, while the NARS Forbidden shade is more of a orangey coral. I do not have that many matte blushes. Those of you who follow me for a while know that I'm not the biggest fan of matte blushes. So I do not have any other comparisons for you. I thought that this Forbidden shade would come close, but no, unfortunately not. Or maybe that's a good thing. But I will say that this matte formula is very nice, very good. It surprised me, but I do like the NARS matte formula more. And then the Nocturnal Nude. This one has a satin finish. This is a very natural beige blush. I really like shades like these. So I have a lot of shades I could compare this one to. But I have to admit that all my beige shades, my beige blushes, aren't that similar as I expected. The ones from RMS are definitely more glowy in finish compared to the new YSL one. And those two are also more rosy in tone. I do think that the Chanel blush and also the Dior blush come close to this new YSL blush. The one from Chanel is maybe a tad warmer in tone. It has a little bit more orange to it. And I think the one from Dior, this shade is called Charnel, comes closest to this new YSL Nocturnal Nude. My final thoughts about the quad and the blushes. I'm gonna start with the blushes. Do you need these blushes? No. Do you want these blushes? Yes. These blushes just feel a little bit like a collector's item. You just want to try them. You want to have this beautiful packaging. I mean, these are just gorgeous. These are stunning. Formula-wise, they are very good. So I would say just buy one. Buy a color you like. Buy a color that looks appealing to you and just try them. If you prefer a matte finish, there are some matte blushes. If you prefer a satin finish, there are also satin shades to choose from. So just try one. You won't be disappointed. The formula is good. The longevity is good. There are several shades to choose from. Just give them a try. As for the eyeshadow quad, I really like that YSL did this fresh spring color story. It's very different to what we've seen so far from the brand, so I appreciate that they try something new. Also new with this topper shade, that's a new formula. We haven't seen that before. Formula is good, pigmentation is good. I didn't have any issues applying or blending these shades. Very easy to work with. And you can do a more natural daytime look by using this topper shade on the light coral shade, or you can go for a more intense look by applying the topper shade with a damp brush on top of the deep purple shade to get a more intense look. So I like that you can do both with this palette. I hope the brand will continue like this with releasing unexpected color stories, very new color stories that are very different to what we've already seen from the brand. New formulas like with this topper shade, I really like that. So I am very curious to see what else we will get from YSL this year. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. My next video will be up in, I think, 6 or 7 days, and in that video I will show you my favorite and most used winter eyeshadow palettes. If you do not want to miss out on that video, make sure to subscribe and to turn on the notifications. For now, I'm wishing you a wonderful day and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!